We're still talking about overloaded operators, and right now we're going to talk about the inserter operator and the extractor operator. This is some constructor to some class, and we pass in an integer x, and it's going to do some operation on an integer. And the same class, we can define it with a double, and this constructor is going to be an overloaded constructor as long as the parameter types are different. Here we have the same thing. We have a print function and an OStream reference object and an integer, a print function name and an OStream reference again. But this time we have a double in the right-hand parameter. So these are two overloaded functions. Now, this syntax, don't let this syntax scare you. In the same way that we've been using cout, this is where we would pass in our cout object and an integer or a double. So we are just passing that stream into a function. And we're about to get into how you would use that stream. So why would we want to overload the inserter and extractor operator? Well, your class cannot use the inserter and extractor notation with our cout, with our console out object, until you have those operators overloaded. It's very similar to creating a print function for that object. So instead of creating a separate print function, now you'll have the ability to just go ahead and pass that object into your console out or using your inserter operator. So it just adds more flexibility, more ease of use to your class. In order to overload the inserter and extractor operators, we must follow a very specific pattern. So notice here, it must be created as a friend. You're going to have to declare your OStream inserter and extractor functions as friends. You must return an OStream reference. So the return type must be an OStream reference. You must use the same operator syntax that we've talked about plus the inserter sign. And as your first parameter, you must use the OStream reference, and then the next parameter must be a reference to the calling class. The yellow is the optional syntax, so you can call your reference to the OStream whatever you want. You can call the reference to the calling class whatever you want. However, you must have the non-highlighted bit. The green highlighted bit here is just whichever class is calling the OStream operator. However, it must be a reference to that calling class. This fuchsia highlighting is just however you're going to format and print the member variables of length. So the length class. This is up to however you want to print. So we just talked about OStream, but what about intaking? What about console in? So that's called iStream. OStream is console out, iStream is console in, and we are going to, again, it has the same pattern of syntax with the friend keyword, the iStream reference, the operator notation here. We still have the iStream reference in the left parameter and then the calling class reference in the right parameter. However, in this function, you're going to implement it different. You're going to read in the member variables and then return that object return that console in object. So again, parts you cannot change. Both functions always are implemented as friends. The inserter operator must be there, so it returns an OStream reference and has an OStream reference for its first argument. The extractor symbol is always there, so it returns an iStream reference and has an iStream reference for its first argument. So the fuchsia was more flexible parts of the pattern but are still required. So the second argument for both operators is always a reference to an instance of the class for which the operator is overloaded, so i.e. the class in which the function is being defined. The highlighted yellow is the variable names of the programmer specified names, so those can be changed. So the OStream and iStream reference names or the variable names for output and input object references. And the fuchsia is the function-specific operations, so those are more flexible. But the format of the print member variables, you can choose how to format those. And then we have the read values from the input stream into the member variables. You get to decide how to read those in. Here's an example of how to implement these functions with the length class. So here on the left, we are declaring these prototypes as friends of the length class using that return type of a reference, the name of our function with the inserter and the extractor. The first parameter on the left here, we have another OStream reference or iStream reference, and then here on the right we have the calling class reference. Here we have the implementation of how to print out these objects. So here we have that out name for our OStream reference, and we are using the inserter operator to pass in a parenthesis. Then we're going to access the length class. We're going to access whichever object it was passed in its member variable feet. We're going to add a comma and a space, and then we're going to access that object's length, or that length object's inches, and then we're going to use another parenthesis. So we are printing out this particular object's member variables. And here we have an iStream, so the input, the console in, with this same format here. When we use this extractor, we're going to be prompting the user to enter the length or the inches for the feet and passing that into the length object itself. And then we're going to be passing in the inches using the length object's inches. And we are going to then return the instance of in right here that we passed in. And here, when we can now create two instances of the length class called width and height. And when we call cin in the extractor, it will prompt this function to be called. And then when we call cout, it will prompt this inserter operator to be called. And it will print both of these.